Do we have any speakers? And they are? If I can get some quiet in the room, please. Quiet in the room. Mr. Bowden?
Good morning.
The floor is yours, Mr. Bowden.
Is this on? On my way here this morning, I passed half a dozen police cars. On the back of those police cars were these little black boxes. They're license plate readers. They're about this long, about that big and square. And as the car drives down, it can even read the license plate going in the other direction. You're using license plate readers on all your bridges now. Well, the gantries that you built at the Henry Hudson Bridge were built because contractors want you to spend a lot of money. There's no necessity for it. You could have put the license plate readers right underneath the upper deck. Works just as well. In fact, on a Triborough Bridge in Queens, you could put them underneath the bridge, whatever that, and then you'd have all of that time so that a police car could match it up and pull them up on the other side. The idea of putting a gantry up just for readers is outdated. It was done by the construction industry to make a lot of money. You can now repair them. You can put 2, 3, 4. They're so inexpensive. They're on a police cars. They don't cost them anything virtually. You can put them underneath, line them up. When you have to repair it, you do it with a bucket truck. You don't have a gantry where people go behind it anymore. That's outdated. So the process of changing from the gantries to putting them under a bridge, the bridge can be a mile away. Fiber optic cable is really cheap, and you've already got the cameras connected to some fiber optic cable. So put your license plate readers in a place that's already there, an existing place. And if you think you have to put up some little bridge, do it at the narrowest point. You can do it for 3 lanes and not for 6. There is no such thing as a toll plaza. It's over. I read the toll news every day. All over the country, people are making that mistake. You've already started. The Thruway is eliminating all of them. They've done the first. The Tappan Zee toll booth will be gone by the end of this month. You might as well extend it everywhere. Thank you. Oh, by the way, it's always a pleasure to work with this group. You have the most cooperative people I have almost ever worked with.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. Our next speaker, Jordan.
Boo. That was intended to get your attention and to scare you. Some of you may have heard of autonomous vehicles, self-driving vehicles. Google wants to have vehicles that can deliver things without a human being. The president of Tesla said that in a few years you could request your car from the West Coast to drive to New York. To me, these seem like ideal vehicles for car bombs. I can imagine someone dispatching these from a remote location. It would affect a lot of things, but tunnels and bridges are the area where it would have a significant impact. On the highway, you could hurt a lot of people. In a tunnel, you could hurt people and infrastructure. Somebody might want to consider what's going on at the Federal Highway Administration, what New York State is doing, but these autonomous vehicles bringing car bombs seems to me like inviting trouble, and I hope someone in the group can follow up with this. Thank you.
Sir. Okay. We'll bring the meeting to order. The first item is the minutes. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Mr. Spiro, take us through the work plan.
Okay, thanks. There are no changes in the committee work plan. I'll move on to the report on operations. Jim Fortunato.
Good afternoon. The report on operations begins on page 18. Traffic was higher in February with 22.4 million crossings as compared with 20.0 million crossings in February of 2015. This represents an 11.9% increase. In 2016, there was one extra day due to the leap year, which accounted for 800,000 additional crossings, resulting in the daily average traffic increasing by 8.1%. Snowfall in February 2016 was 5.6 inches, while February 2015 saw 15.2 inches. February 2016 gas prices averaged $1.90 per gallon, which was 43 cents lower than in February of 15. Easy Pass volume increased by 9.5% in February of 2016 as compared to February of 2015, while crossings using cash and other payment methods declined 2.2% for the month. Passenger car travel was up 8.4%, and other vehicle travel increased by 4.3% from February of 2015. Preliminary monthly traffic figures for March 2016 is 7.7% more than the same period last year. Unless there are no questions, this ends the report on operations.
The only thing I would say is we had a conversation with Bill Wheeler at the commuter rails, and this is the first time everybody can remember for a long time in which traffic on the bridges and tunnels and traffic on the commuter rails and the subways all went up at the same time. Because normally they go in inverse order relating to gas prices, and we all know that scenario. But this is the first time in which all of our modes are increasing and increasing at significant numbers at the same time. And we had a very interesting discussion about that trend that is most likely going to continue unless gas prices go, out of whack again for the foreseeable future in the region. And it shows the importance of our system in all of its components to the economic needs of the region, without a doubt.
Right. Thanks. As we discussed, it's also the first time our traffic ever went up after a toll increase, so that's also news. Safety report is next.
Good afternoon. The report on safety is illustrated on page 32. This new format was chosen in order to continue to show some of our most important performance or lagging indicators shown on top table, as well as some of our leading indicators shown on the bottom table. The report includes 12-month rolling averages and highlights the following performance indicators: customer collisions with injuries, employee accident reports, lost time injuries, and contractor injuries. The customer collision rate for this 12-month reporting period was 5.9 collisions per million crossings compared to a 5.6 collisions in the previous reporting period. On the other hand, the injury collision rate was 0.99 compared to the previous reporting period of 0.90. During the same reporting period, the total number of reported employee accidents were 249 compared to 343 for the previous reporting period. And the rate for the lost time injuries was 4.8 compared to previous rate of 6.4 lost time injuries. Lastly, the contractor lost time injury rate was 2.15 compared to a rate of 3.18 to the previous reporting period. In terms of our leading indicators shown on the bottom table, I would like to emphasize the number of fleet preventative maintenance inspections and construction safety inspections, which for the month of February have increased dramatically. Unless there are any questions or comments, this concludes our safety report. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll move on to the Easy Pass report, which begins on page 33. Our market share in February was 86.3%, which is the highest one-month market share we've ever had, slightly higher than January, which had been the highest up till now. It's 1.1 percentage points higher than the year before. More than 16,300 Easy Pass on-the-go accounts, or Easy Pass accounts were opened in February, including more than 7,700 on-the-go accounts, 47% of the total, and we're now up to 732,000 on-the-go tags sold in the lane since the program began. There's no questions on the Easy Pass report. I'll move on to the financial report, which begins on page 39. Toll revenue year-to-date through February was $271.2 million, which is 6% higher than planned. Traffic was up 6% against the budget as the mild winter weather helped considerably in February. Preliminary March traffic is also up 4% against the plan, about 1 million vehicles, and preliminary revenue for March also up close to 4% against the budget. Year to year, as Jim alluded to, traffic's up 8.9 percentage points through February. That's year to date, 3.6 million vehicles, and preliminary March numbers also look very good, up about 7.7%. On the expense side, the total expenses are about $66.1 million through February, which is about $11.3 million, 14.6% lower than planned. Non-labor costs were 16.6% less than planned, about $5 million, due primarily to the timing of expenses in maintenance and other operating contracts category. And labor costs were lower as well, about $6.3 million, 13.3%, primarily due to payroll vacancies. And overtime down 28% against plan, more than $1.4 million year to date. And that also is in part due to the mild winter weather that we experienced, especially in February. Our support to mass transit was more than $167.7 million through February, which is more than $35.8 million, 27.2% better than planned. If there's no questions on the financial report, I'll move on to the year-end operating results, which begin on page 53. We've reported much of this information to you already over the last couple of months, so I will just briefly summarize. Total revenue for the year was $1.809 billion, which is just under 1% better than our final estimate, $16.6 million. Traffic was up 1% against the final estimate, again, thanks to the mild winter weather at the end of 2015. Total non-reimbursable expenses were $452.8 million, which are $39.6 million, 8.1% lower than our final estimate. And this was due to lower non-labor costs of about $23.3 million that were primarily the result of lower maintenance and other operating contract expenses, and also lower expenses for professional service contracts. We also had lower labor costs of about $16.3 million, 6.5%, again due to lower payroll expenses, and also lower overtime, which came in $4.4 million under budget. For the year, overtime came in at $21.9 million, which is 16.6% better than planned. Our support to mass transit was $1.125 billion, almost $1.125 billion, $87.5 million, 8.5%, 8.4% specifically better than the final estimate. That concludes our report on the year-end operating results. If there's no questions, I'll move on to the capital program.
Good afternoon. The capital program project status report begins on page 79 of the committee report. In terms of commitment, in the month of March, 9 task level commitments were made with a total value of $6.7 million. Year to date, 30 task level commitments were made with a total value of $22.2 million, which represents 14.6% of the total annual plan of $151.8 million. In terms of completion, there were no planned or actual project completion in March or year to date. And finally, in terms of closeout, there were 4 task level closeout in March with a total value of $1.3 million, bringing the total number of closeout year to date to 13 with a total value of $37.1 million. Unless there are any questions, this concludes the capital program project status report.
Okay, and we actually have no procurements this month, so yeah, we'll make up for it next month most likely. So with that, it concludes our agenda if there's no questions.
I'll entertain a motion.